Thanks for listening to the Swearing In podcast, where you'll hear the origin stories of those who chose to serve. So ground your gear, take a seat, and listen up. The Swearing In podcast starts right now.
Hands up! This is the Swearing In Podcast, and I am your host, Marty Smith. My guest today is former Army Sergeant Lester Garrett. Lester grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. After high school, he attended then Cumberland College in Kentucky and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Data Processing in 1986. After working for the Hamilton County, Ohio Juvenile Court and School system for several years, Lester decided to join the military. He enlisted in the Army in 1994 and attended basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. His military occupation specialty was 31 Sierra, SATCOM, and he went on to AIT at Fort Gordon, Georgia. His first assignment was to the 52nd Signal Company in Mannheim, Germany, during which he supported Operation Joint Endeavor, the NATO Peacekeeping force for Bosnia. Later, he was assigned to Fort Richie, Maryland, and exited the Army in 2000. So now, I present to you former Army Sergeant Lester Garrett.
Joining me today is former U.S. Army Sergeant Lester Garrett. Lester, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Thanks for telling me your story. I don't even know where you grew up. Where'd you grow up at?
Well, I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I grew up kind of on the northwest part of town, mostly out in a rural area.
How was Cincinnati?
Cincinnati, I mean, it's okay. It's basically very similar to any kind of East Coast town. It's not really on the coast, but you know what I mean, Midwest town.
Yeah.
We moved out, nevertheless, when I was like 9, and we went out to kind of like a little town called Ross, Ohio. If you've never heard of it, you're not alone. It's just a small. Back then, it was even smaller. Small community, one traffic light. Went to school.
Yeah.
I think our high school.
Is that where you went to high school at?
Yeah, I think our high school had like 400 something people total, but it was quite the large area. Like, to get that many kids, it was like.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it spanned a lot of acres to get that many kids.
Yeah,
into the class or into the school.
Yeah.
So, basically. What year did you graduate then?
Graduated high school in 1982, and then went to college. Actually, went to college shortly after that. The following fall, hated it. It was a small. I hated it for like the first 2 months. I was like, this place sucks.
Yeah,
but it was a small like school, a private school in the middle of Whitley County, Kentucky. I don't know if you know where that is. It's like 10 miles from Tennessee. 10 miles from the Tennessee border. There's like 4 hours from my house in Ohio, but my dad was like, no, you're going to college because you just got to pick one. I was like, I don't know. I don't want to go. I don't even want to go to college, much less he wouldn't let me get out of it. So, and then
how'd you pick that school? What was the name of the school?
Back then, it was called Cumberland College.
Okay.
They changed the name. It was a small Christian college, and my dad kind of mentioned it to me, and I looked into it, and I was like, yeah, this could be all right. It looked nice, and it was cheaper than a lot of places. So
that's probably the bigger decision to make, right?
Yeah. And so I just figured, all right, that's cool. These people line up with my beliefs or whatever, and maybe I could even learn something.
What were you gonna try to major in, or what was it still too? I'm just undecided. I'm just going.
Kind of, yeah. Like I had this notion that I'd be like this computer programmer or something. Yeah. A smart computer genius. could hack into the, to the World Wide Web or something. But that was even before that. But no.
No, that's War Games time frame there. Hacking into the Whopper.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know if that came out in 1982. It might have, but.
So how much longer did you go?
I went the whole 4 years. I went 4 years. I graduated with a BS.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And I had, some knowledge, but no experience. So got out.
So you graduated with what? A BS in what?
So back then it was called data processing science, but it was just short because they didn't have a full computer science curriculum. It was just a little short of that. Not a whole lot, but some of the math.
But that's essentially what it was, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For back then. For 1982, it was kind of all you could get.
So you got your Bachelor of Science in...
Oh, data processing.
Okay. And so your secret of my success, you're off to the world to go get your job and...
Well, I went back to Ohio. My city was still there. This was 1986 now, right? So we're getting into, what is that, the Reagan years. We're well into the Reagan years. The economy is starting to come back, I guess. A guy I knew who worked for the county, he worked for the juvenile court system in Hamilton County, and I was like, you got any openings? And he's like, oh, yeah, totally. You'd fit right in. I'm like, I doubt that, but he's like, oh, no, you'd be good for that job. He's like, you got a lot of patience. You're pretty calm, level-headed. You don't get excited about all, So I was like, all right. So I applied there, and it's a big to-do because you got to get a background check, and you got to take a polygraph, answer all these questions. Many of them quite embarrassing, but it's like the lifestyle polygraph that they made me take, right? Fortunately, I was only 20-something, so I didn't have a lot of, stuff
in experiences. Stuff in the closet.
So they hired me as the 11 to 7, 11 p.m., 7 a.m. intake office type guy. So,
and who was this for?
Juvenile court. Basically, it was at the juvenile. I worked at the juvenile detention center for not quite 2 years, maybe 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that was annoying. I mean, it was not. It was just stressful. I'll say that. It wasn't a terrible job. It was just stressful because of all the, these kids come in, they got all these problems, and
the real family drama and
and then they're always trying to pull a con or manipulate you in some way.
Really?
Yeah, you got to be on your freaking toes. Then I applied out at a school, so it's a juvenile it's not a detention center, but it's a school where kids are placed from the court, and they have issues, of course. And we're talking felonies.
Oh, jeez.
So multiple. Anyway, I did that for a while, and I felt like for the first year, I felt like I'm terrible at this. I mean, I didn't want to quit. I thought it was a worthwhile job, right? But I was like, man, I'm terrible at this. And then one of the social workers came to me and said, Lester, you're pretty good at this. I'm like, what? I feel like I don't have a clue what I'm freaking doing. She's like, oh, no. She's like, oh, no. I see you with the kids. I see you interact, and you're good at it. You don't let them, manipulate you. You call them out on their bullshit, stuff like that. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. And then after that, I felt like, oh, well, maybe I am not terrible at this. So I was a little more confident and stuff, and confidence actually helps.
Sure.
With those kids who will exploit any weakness. that they see. They're very,
Right.
You think they're dumb, but a lot of them are very smart, and they will pick you apart if you allow them to. Long story short, I worked there for like 5 years and got...
5 years?
I worked for the court for a total of 5 years, both at the detention and the school.
And the school.
So I got to a point where, there's coveted shifts that people who have been there a long time, they get the shifts they want, right? So shift came open. It was like, for them, they called it a swing shift, but it was basically 2 days, 2 nights, and 3 days off. And we're talking 10-hour days, right?
Yeah.
So 2 days, 2 nights, 3 days off. And I was like, okay, I want to do that. And then I got that position, and almost immediately the people in charge, the director and the doctor, whatever his name was, changed all the rules. And they were like, we're going to have this whole new scheme of how we do residential treatment here. So they changed everybody's shift up, and it was all jacked, and you did, there was no longer 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. It was like, you're coming in 10 to 6, and you're coming in earlier, you're coming in like 6 to whatever. And it was just all jacked up. So I was like, I got to get out of here. Me and my buddy Dan, he was like my best friend in high school, and we went to the same college, actually. And
okay.
He's like struggling like me to kind of find something that he wants to do, but he wants to be a pastor, and he's having trouble getting, somewhere that will make him. He's young like me, and he's like a lot of churches or whatever they look.
Oh yeah,
the older,
I gotcha. Yeah,
more wise with wisdom.
Sure.
Even though Dan, he's pretty wise, but anyway. So we're like talking one day, and we're like, we should join the Army or the military, something. And I'm like, you think? And he's like, yeah. Well, I mean, they'll train you for free, right? He's like, what? They got like a 6 to 8 week training program.
A real tough one.
It was exactly like that. It was like Stripes.
It was like that conversation from Stripes.
We're not going anywhere. We both feel like we're not making any headway in this whole life/career thing.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, we'll give it a shot. See what they got.
And so are you 31 or so at this point?
I was 29.
Oh, 29. Okay.
At this conversation juncture. I was 30 when we actually went in. Right, I was 30.
What year was it? What year was that? What year are we talking now?
94.
Wow. Okay.
So we show up at the recruiter, and he's asking us all these questions, and he's like, are either of you homosexual? We were like, no, we are not homosexual, but we are willing to learn. I do remember that question. That was back before,
Yeah.
You don't ask, don't tell.
Well, that was close. I mean, we're 94,
right around there.
Somewhere right around there. Yeah. When Clinton couldn't make up his mind, it's just like, okay, we'll just do this. That stuck for a long time, actually. So why the Army?
That guy was in that day. He was at the recruiter.
Was it really? The bank of recruiters?
There was, it was like an office plaza with, 4 offices, and there was like Navy.
Now, wait a minute. I want to ask you a little bit more about this, because I know you're kind of blowing by it deadpan wise, but you're going in your late 20s, you're almost 30, and you guys just say, let's pitch it and let's just go join the Army. I mean, that seems pretty rash kind of decision for you.
It was logical though, because he and I, my friend Dan and I, both were discussing it, and we were like, how do we get some other job that's not a lame ass job like working in a convenience store? He was working in a convenience store, gas station.
Was he really? Did he have a degree as well?
Yep. Well, yes, he did. So, because he graduated, I graduated college 86, he graduated 87. So this was like 88-ish, 89, whatever, 90.
All right.
When we were discussing, well, I guess it would have been 94, 93, when we were discussing it, in all seriousness, we were discussing it.
Yeah, yeah.
He was like, we need some place with training. Everybody wants experience. You got to know a job. You got to have a skill.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, literally the Army or the Air Force or they'll teach you a skill. Yeah, you just have to be able to market it. And they'll give you experience, eventually leadership experience and stuff like that. You could be, you get out, you've got this training, you've got this experience in leading and managing people. He's like, look at all the people who have good jobs that are veterans. His dad was, and my dad was. We were like, we were thinking of it in a logical, kind of business way. Like, okay, we need some other skill to get out of the current path we're on. We need training. We don't have any money to pay for this training. What's the best way to do it? Oh, the military will do it for free for you. Okay. So we just picked that. We were like, well, let's try this. For me, I was like, well, couldn't be any worse than digging ditches or, dealing with criminals all day.
Criminal kids.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's pretty big. Maybe it was bigger. Maybe you're downplaying it a bit, but that's pretty big to just go, hey, let's go do this.
It wasn't a small decision. You're right. I mean, but I figure, how bad could it be? People do it all the time. There's tons of people that do it all the time. They go in the military, they get out. At the time there was no war, so we felt
that's true. That's a good point.
It was a relatively rational decision. Plus, my dad was in, his dad was in. It was like, well, I'm sure our dads would be proud if we went in. It was like, they're not going to stop us. They can't. They did it, right?
Well, that's true. What did your grandfather do?
My mom's dad, he was a pipe fitter or something. I think pipe fitter, something like that. He worked at this company in Cincinnati, but I honestly, I don't know what he actually did.
But you said he was in the military?
My grandfather was in the military. I think he was a tank guy. I don't think he was in World War II. I know he was in Germany for a time, but I don't think he was in any battles or anything like that. He never talked about it, if he was. My dad's dad, he died when I was really young, so I don't really know what he did. Okay.
What'd your dad do?
My dad was in the Army, 101st Airborne Screaming Eagles.
Oh, man.
He jumped out of aircraft for no apparent reason.
And here comes his son, Lester Garrett, joining in. And you eventually, you got in. You signed up in 94?
Yeah.
And then went to MEPS.
MEPS.
Did you have a delayed enlistment? Or?
Yeah, it was delayed by a few months. I think, I want to say between April or May. I want to say signed in April and went in October.
So what did the recruiter do when you told him, oh, yeah, I have a college degree?
Oh, that's great. He was like...
Did he really?
He was like, that's good. You can use that. I was like, for what?
Son of a bitch.
He's like, well, since you got 4 years of college, he's like, you're going in. You'll start out as an E4. He's like, that'd be great. You'll get more pay. I'm like, well, I'm all for more pay. And
nothing,
like,
no mention of being an officer or anything.
Well, when I asked about that, he's like, yeah, see, he's like, what you do is you'll go to basic training and then you'll tell your leadership in basic training that you want to go to OCS and they'll hook you up with all the paperwork and stuff.
Oh, what a son of a bitch.
I'm like, all right. So I went in basic training, and no one was interested in talking to me about it.
So does anybody have any questions? Yeah, you, Garrett, what do you got? They told me I could, and I'm like, shut your pie hole.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh my God.
I asked it a couple of times, a couple of different people, a couple of different drill instructors basically said the same thing, which was, hey, you can't do nothing about that here. You're going to have to wait until you get to your unit.
Jesus.
So I was like, all right.
Okay. Well, you're in now, right?
Yeah. And at graduation, at basic training graduation, well, right a few minutes prior to basic training graduation, there was this guy who they called up front. They pinned him on E5 right there. And they sent him off to OCS. So he had a better recruiter than me because he knew how to, get from basic training to OCS.
Oh, shit. Did you kind of realize that you got screwed on that at that point?
I thought to myself, I think I've been misinformed. Yes.
Wait, let's back up. Where'd you go to MEPS at? In Cincinnati?
Yeah, well, no, it was in Columbus.
Columbus. Okay.
Yeah.
And where'd you go to basic at?
South Carolina.
Fort Jackson.
Jackson, yeah.
And what part of the year?
Well, it was October. So it was...
okay.
We went there, I was like October 4th. But, we didn't do nothing for 2 weeks, so we just sat around eating chow at the reception company. Because, they didn't care about us. They were like, this is where you sleep. Chow hall's over there. You got any questions? When do we start? We'll tell you when you start. We ate 3 big ass meals a day. The Fort Jackson Chow Hall at the reception company was awesome. That was the best food I've had. Probably.
Really?
It was the absolute best food I've had in the military for sure. We walked into that chow hall, and I don't know, they had like all these awards on the wall when you walk in, like, I don't know, chow hall of the year or whatever, dining facility of the year, stuff like that up on the wall, and it was nice. It was always clean, always nice, tablecloths, everything, good food. Everyone was friendly. Like, you go through the line, people smile at you. And then that was the last time I saw that. So that's the last time anybody smiled at me in the chow line for a while. Yeah, so we all got fattened up at the reception, standing for 2 weeks, and then we go out to basic training, and they're like, "You people are fat."
When did you know what job you were going to do? What your MOS was going to be?
So we went into the MEPS, and the guy.
Okay, so you contracted that?
Yeah. So when the MEPS guy looked at my ASVAB, or I'm sorry, let me back up. When the recruiter looked at my ASVAB score, he's telling me all these technical things I could do because I had a high technical science score.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like, oh, this is good. You can do all kinds of stuff. So he showed me a bunch of stuff. There's like all these technician type things, and there radio technicians and stuff like that. So he was like, oh, there's this 31 Sierra thing. Because he's like, this is satellite communications operator maintainer. I was like, satellite? That sounds cool. That sounds like something I could learn and then get out and make a lot of money. Which, if you recall, when my friend and I were talking about going in, that was our goal, right?
Sure.
Get trained on something, we could get out and make some money.
Right.
So I go to the MEPS. Guy looks at my score and he's like, oh, great. Well, he's like, let me tell you what we got here. We got a bunch of stuff that you can get a bonus for. You can get a $5,000 bonus if you sign on to be a cook. And he goes, guess what? If you sign on to be a cook, you only got to do 2 years active duty, you get a $5,000 bonus, and you'll have a skill when you get out.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, what am I going to, I'm going to be a cook? No. I was like, I don't think so. I don't think I want to do that. He's like, are you sure? He's like, it's a good deal, man. It's a really good deal. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm looking more of a, something technical or whatever. He's like, all right, well, let me show you this. We got this. This is a $3,000 signing bonus. And them's real money.
That's real.
Those real dollars. He didn't say that. I'm making it up. But he was kind of like like a used car salesman is what he was. But,
sure. Yeah,
he goes
so
up.
Recruiters, not much of a recruiter has changed since.
Yeah. So he goes, well, I got this Avenger crew member. He's like, this is real cutting edge. This is like a new thing. I'm like, Avenger crew member? What is that? He's like, well, it's this fighting vehicle. And they got, I don't know, 3 or 4 positions on this vehicle. A driver, a gunner, and a mechanic, and whatever else, something else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you go out in this vehicle and shoot stuff, basically, in, wars. And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's real cool. He's like, it's brand new. $3,000 signing bonus. Do 4 years. And I'm like, well, that sounds like I might get killed or something. And, you're thinking, yeah, you're in the military. You might get killed. And I knew that in my head. But
yeah,
in practice, I'm like, well, if I'm running around in the desert with this vehicle getting shot at and shooting at people, that drastically is going to increase my chances of getting killed. And my mom was pissed off at me if I got killed. So I didn't think that was a good idea. And so he hemmed and hauled around for about an hour with me trying to get me to do these things that sign on to these things that were signing bonuses, I guess, that he needed to fill.
Yeah.
And then he gave me a list. He's like, well, here's the list. You look down this list and you tell me what you think you want to do. So I looked down the list and I came to that MOS we talked about with the recruiter, 31 Sierra, satellite operator maintainer. And I was like, I want to do this.
Okay.
He's like, well, let me tell you about that. He's like, that is not all it's cracked up to be. I was like, well, I didn't even know it was cracked up to be, so I'm good. I'm good with it. He's like, well, you're going to have to go to the security guy. You're going to have to fill out this giant form. He's like, you're going to have to go back 10 years and tell him everything you've done. He's like, you need a security clearance, and that's just a nightmare. He's like, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, well, I kind of think I do. What you're telling me sounds way better than running around in the desert shooting folks. So he's like, well, if you're dead set on it, I guess I could call the security guy. But I got to tell you, it's 3:00 right now, and he usually leaves early. I was like, well, why don't you call him? He's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. So he calls the security guy who's getting ready to leave. And
of course.
The security guy says, well, send him on over. So I go on over there, and he has these screening questions, I guess, to make sure you're not, a security risk.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, here's this form, fill it out, send it in to this address, and you'll be good to go. And he gives me the SF-86 and hard copy form, and I fill it out with a pen, like in the old days. It takes me forever.
Right.
And fortunately, I had delayed entry, so I had some time. I send it in, and I go in and do at the MEPS, you go and you do the swearing in and stuff, and then
yeah,
we had driven there with a van load of guys and a couple girls. It was one of those big ass vans, 15 passenger van. There's like 10 people in there, and these guys aren't the brightest bulbs in the tree.
What are they all, 18, 19, 20?
I don't know. I didn't get to know them. I didn't feel like it was worth it. They weren't, they were all younger and they weren't really my type of people. Anyway, we drove back and then we go and you're on the delayed enlistment program. I get back and I talk to my buddy who had went on a different day than I did.
Okay.
He went like the day before me, but I hadn't talked to him. I called him up and I said, what'd you get? He's like, I'm going to be an airborne medic. I'm like, airborne medic? That doesn't sound like anything we talked about. It's not a technical. I mean, I guess it is sort of technical, but he didn't
stick to the plan, huh?
He didn't stick to the plan. So there was no possible way we were going to be going to the same places.
Not now, yeah.
So, that part of the plan we didn't think through.
Did you end up going to basic together?
Nope. No, he went Missouri.
Leonard would, huh?
Leonard would, right. Yep.
Do you still talk to him? You still friends with him?
Yeah, yep.
All that, they get you through Jackson. You graduate. Do you have any honors after graduation from basic training at Fort Jackson?
No, I was that college guy. The drill sergeant didn't really like me that much because I was that college guy.
Because you were educated.
One of the first days of basic training, the leading drill instructor is like, anybody here got any college? Of course, like there was three of us that raised our hands, and he looked at us like we were the lowest form of life on earth. And that's all he wanted to know. He just wanted to know who had college. He didn't want anything from us. He just wanted to pick us out so that he could ridicule us for the next day.
I just need to know who to hate in this platoon.
Yep, exactly right.
So you graduate as a 31 Sierra. What was it, SATCOM?
Yeah, yep.
And
SATCOM.
your AIT is where?
Fort Gordon, Georgia.
God, a bunch of you guys go over there. It's got like all the electronics over there, Fort Gordon, I think.
It's the home
electronics,
of the
comms. I think it's, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Home of the Signal Corps.
Yep.
How long was your AIT?
A little longer than 9 months. Or right about
9 months?
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah. You're telling me. We're at Fort Gordon. So when I got to Fort Gordon, it was January 3rd.
Okay.
I went home for December, spent Christmas with the parents, and then got to Fort Gordon, Georgia. And I had a car, so I drove there.
What rank are you then at tech school?
Oh, E4 still. E4.
Okay, so you got E4 after basic then.
Yeah. So we go in and so one morning I show up to formation. The platoon guy's not out there. And Drill Sergeant White. He was a black man. He comes out and he's like, "Where's the platoon guy?" "Oh, he graduated, Sergeant." "Well, who's the new platoon guy?" People are him and hawing around, and I'm in the back row, and somebody goes, "Specialist Garrett." I'm like, "What? No, that's not right, Drill Sergeant. It's not right." Drill Sergeant went, "Garrett, front and center." So I run up there, and he's like, "Give me a count." I'm like, damn it. So from then on, I was the platoon guy for like the next 6 months. You had to make sure everybody did their details, all that stupid stuff. And there's like 128 people. So every morning you count people and you count, and there's like 119. I'm like, who's missing? And I don't even know all the people, right? So you don't know who's in your platoon if there's over 100 people. Yeah, it's pain. But I mean, I got through it, and it actually had certain advantages. People knew who you were, and all the drill sergeants knew who you were, and cut you a little slack once in a while.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we had one drill sergeant who was second platoon. He hated our drill sergeant. I don't know why. It was some political nonsense in the company. And he was Hispanic drill sergeant. He was the second platoon. He hated our drill sergeant, thereby hating us. So any that we did wrong or didn't do right, he would just go to town on us. If we're out in the common area and somebody's got a wrinkly uniform, he'd call it out and try to make a big deal out of it. We used to march over to the classroom and wait. We used to have to wait for our drill sergeant at lunchtime to march us over to the chow hall. And one day he shows up and we're like, "We're Drill Sergeant White." And Drill Sergeant White not here today. I'm taking you guys over. And so we're all standing in formation and he's walking up and down the line like freaking Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. He's like, "Garrett, you got gum?" "Yes, Drill Sergeant." "Are you allowed to have gum?" "Yes, Sergeant." He's like, "Not in formation, you ain't. Spit that out or swallow it." Okay. And then he just got on me. He just tried to, ridicule you and makes you, "Damn, first platoon, don't know what the hell's going on." All this stuff.
And this is at tech school.
Yeah, AIT, yeah.
AIT, I'm sorry. That's crazy. I mean, the time for that has passed, right?
You would think, yeah. But no, not in the Signal Corps. Hardcore soldiers.
Very strack, very hua.
Uh-huh.
All right, so there's 94, right? You're spending, what'd you say, 7 months?
Well, now it's 95.
9 months. Oh, so it's 95.
Yeah, so we're going 9 months, so about September is the end. And we, a bunch of us who were in our class, so our class was like 20 people. And about 15 of us went to Germany after AIT. Same unit. 15, maybe it was only about 10, but like a bunch of us went to the same unit in Germany for SATCOM.
And that was your first assignment?
Yep.
Do you remember the unit you went to?
51st Signal Company, 52nd Signal Company, 72nd Signal Battalion, 7th Signal Brigade.
Based out of where?
Our company was 72nd was in Mannheim. They were in Karlsruhe just before we showed up, so they were still in the process of like moving a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay.
From Karlsruhe to Mannheim. So our unit got stuck in these barracks that were built in like 1933 or something. These old buildings had swastikas in these. Swastikas still carved in the cast iron hand railing. I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah. Because we're moving in. We're the first people to move into this building in, who knows how long. We're occupying these now formerly condemned buildings that were slated to be torn down.
Formerly Nazi-occupied condemned buildings.
Correct.
Golly.
Yeah, and it was just like these big stone buildings with these giant hallways and giant staircases with cast iron railings, that had swastikas still in them. I thought, at the time I was like, wow, this is like history. This is kind of cool. Like, this is weird.
Sure.
Like, but they came in and remodeled a lot of the building and where they grinded off all of those symbols. And the building, I think it was formerly like offices or something, because the rooms that we stayed in were like irregularly placed and irregularly shaped. They weren't all uniform. I think but they put us in there as like barracks. The first room they put me in was like in between two other rooms. There was no like outside door. So I had to go through somebody else's room. I had to go through somebody else's room to get in and out of my room.
Oh, that's fairly awkward, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Fortunately, that didn't last long. 2-3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah. What was your duties then? Who were you assigned to? What was your assigned duties being a SATCOM guy?
So 52nd Signal Company at the time was strictly SATCOM, mobile SATCOM. So we had, in the motor pool, there's a whole bunch of SATCOM vans, basically Humvees with vans on the back. There was an 85 van and a 93 van. 93 van was the smaller of the two types. Could handle less data going through, but I was assigned to a 93 van. It's basically set in on the back of a Humvee, and then you got two Humvees. The other one is for the antenna and equipment, and your job is to drive it wherever they need it, set it up, hook up to the distant end, and run comms between you and whoever at the distant end over satellite.
Okay, so you're essentially a relay center for on the ground, calls the van hooks to the satellite, and then that transfers the message, right?
Yeah. And you can put phones on the end of the van, you can put data.
Okay.
Whatever, all kinds of stuff.
So it was, and you had to be mobile because the ground forces were using FM to you, and then you were throwing it up to the satellite.
Yeah, FM or hardwire. Mostly it was cabling up to our vans.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah. Our unit, since we were just a SATCOM unit, we typically never went anywhere together. You would just cut out like a van, either an 85 or a 93 van, and they would say, okay, you guys are going with whatever, 44th, and you're going to set up at the CP, you're going to set up the command post with a shot between here and Heidelberg, or between wherever, let's say between Sarajevo and Heidelberg, and you're going to have 32 phones and a datacom switch off of your van back to Heidelberg or back to wherever.
All right, so you were sliced off to a division or a core unit, and then they're like, "Hey, go follow these guys," and basically that's what you do.
Echelons above corps, sir. Echelons above corps.
Oh, sorry, man, my mistake. I didn't know what level asset you guys were.
So, well, our unit, basically, if there was a colonel or higher going out to the field, we would go with them.
So that was your kind of duty. You're maintaining that van, you're maintaining comms. Did you go out to the field a lot when you were over in Mannheim?
Didn't have time, really. We went out to the field. So I got there in September. We went out to the field in October for 4 or 5 days. And then November, of course, was like Thanksgiving and stuff. In December, we left Germany to go to Hungary for Operation Joint Endeavor.
What was Joint Endeavor?
So 95, 96. So 1995, I guess. Jimmy Carter brokered some kind of peace deal between Bosnia, Croatia, and Serbia. That Bosnian war back then. Uh-huh. So NATO decided to monitor the peace. So we all went out there. We went to Hungary.
Oh, okay.
My van went to Hungary, which was the staging area for people going in country in Croatia or Bosnia. And then
this was this was for Bosnia. You were in support of that,
right? We had been told, you're going to set up in Hungary, and then you're going to just be the comm asset, the SATCOM asset between there and Germany. And I was like, all right, so how long? And they're like, about a year. And I was like, a year? And they were like, yeah. So we got orders. We go down there and we set up. Of course, it's December. It's not the warmest place to be in December. And it snowed a lot, I remember. Yeah, and it was cold. I remember being cold. That's probably the coldest I've ever been as part of that year.
So you went out in a team. How many were on the van?
3. Supposed to be 4, but we were short. So we only had 3.
And you had a E5, E6 in charge?
I had an E5 in charge of the van and 2 E4s. But Sergeant Little got promoted while we were there, so he was E5. So 2 E5s, essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
And me.
And you were the E4.
Yep.
Were you you weren't out in the field for the entire year, were you?
Well, funny you should ask. So we got about 45 days into this staging area mission. Somebody got their van broken. So somebody in Bosnia was supposed to go with this multinational unit to this other town and set up. And it happened to be a guy I later ran into, but we can talk about that some other time.
Okay.
Their van was broken, but it wasn't really broken. I found out later.
Really?
They didn't want to leave, so they intentionally broke their own van, I think.
Oh, dirty pool, man.
They thought they were in a good spot, so they didn't want to leave. So, but our unit said, okay, we got a van, we can cover that. So they sent us from Hungary in a convoy down to Croatia, where we spent the night because one of our convoy trucks broke down. Happened to be the tow truck that broke down. So they had to go get a new tow truck. We had to wait there for like 2.5 hours on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Got back, and we got to the pickup point where we were supposed to meet this other convoy. Well, of course, we missed that. So we had to wait for these MPs to drive us halfway through Croatia, and they stopped. By this time, it's night, so they stopped for the night. We stayed in this hotel that they well, NATO had bought it out or something for the year or something.
Okay.
So there's all these MPs staying there, and then the three of us, for one night, we stayed there. And there was no more rooms. I had to sleep out in the hallway as the lowest ranking person. Yeah, I slept on a cot in the hallway. We got up real early and went down to Zapanja, this town on the river, and we had to wait to cross the bridge for forever because it was the only bridge within miles, and there's convoys going back and forth. We finally got across, and we had to stay the night in this Zapanja, which is on the Bosnian side, I think, of the river. Or maybe it was on the Croatian side. I don't remember, but I remember we stayed the night there, and it was cold, 4 a.m.
Yeah.
When we woke up. It was freaking cold. And then we finally crossed the river. We got to Tuzla, which is in Bosnia. It's an air base there. We thought that's where we were going because that's what, we just got word, this is where you're going, go to Tuzla. So we got there, met the captain that was at the unit there, and he's like, all right, well, we can find you a place to sleep for the night, but then you guys got to go on, meet up with these Danish guys, drive out to this town called Boy, where you'll set up. We were like, all right. So we got in this tent, GP medium tent, where they had a whole bunch of dudes already sleeping there. Of course, they were happy to see us. And, everybody had to move over one, And
they have the what's that damn stove? It's kind of like a potbelly stove, sort of, for the heater for those tents. I don't remember what those are called.
No, they had these kerosene heaters.
Oh, they did.
I don't know where they got them. We had the potbelly stove. I know what you're talking about. But
yeah.
Part of our gear was that stove. So yeah, they had these kerosene heaters, but it was warm in the tent. But again, got up at 4 a.m.
Ugh.
It was
Jesus.
-5 or something. Got up, got back in the truck, got in this convoy, and drove out to.
It's the third day of this, trying to get out to where you're going, right?
Yep.
God damn.
Got out to this place. They called it Swebat, Swedish battalion. Part of NATO, of course. And so the Swedish battalion was awesome. We get there, they're like, you can bed down here. And they got this giant inflatable, circus tent. And it's all nice and warm and cozy. And we got a cot with a little mat on it.
Oh, nice.
A little pad.
Yeah,
and we're at least 10, 15 feet from the next guy. We got plenty of room. We got all our gear, stuff, and we sleep in this nice, cozy, warm, inflatable tent thing.
All this time, are you pulling out your fart sacks and you're sleeping in those things, or what?
Yeah, sleeping bags. Yeah. We had our ECW bags though. Extreme cold weather.
Oh, you did?
Extreme cold weather bags with the mummy bag.
The mummy bag. Yeah.
Anyway, we slept there. We got up, went to chow. They had they'd make anything you want. Omelet, whatever.
Oh,
Great
okay.
food at the Swedish Italian chow hall. Then we left right after that, and we went to this camp, this little camp that was, I think, some kind of former Soviet facility. The buildings had all been shot up. Of course, when they kicked out the former owners, they destroyed the buildings because they were pissed or whatever. And broke all the windows and shot holes in the walls and took all the light bulbs. Broke the faucets, all that stuff. But we stayed in that building. We got there. We set up our SATCOM shot, and when we got there, it was like, I think it was like February 1st or something. And we talked to the guy in charge, and he told us where to set up. And then we're like, Sergeant Thomas was team chief. He's like, "Sir, do you mind if we go get some chow? We've been riding for hours, and we're kind of hungry." He's like, "Well, why don't you set up first and then go get chow?" All right. So it takes about 3 hours to set one of those things up and get it working, and we did. And so 3 hours later, we show up at the chow hall. Of course, we're dirty, and we, been working all day. It's not the cleanest job in the world, setting up generators. And we get in there, and I guess the guy who's in charge of the chow hall comes up to him and he's like, "Excuse me," and he's a Swedish guy or a Danish guy.
Uh-oh. Yeah,
one of those. He's like, "Excuse me, we require everyone to be clean before they come into the chow hall." So we're like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, he's like, you can't come in here like that." And I'm looking at myself, and I'm a little dirty, but it's not that bad. Of course, I look at my pants and my boots, and they're all muddy and stuff because it's muddy out there. So we go back and we clean up and we change and come back in. By this time, we're freaking starving. Eating it's nice. It's good food, man. It was great. So the unit, the camp we were on was 5 countries: Sweden, Denmark, Finland. Sweden, Denmark, Finland, the U.S., of course, and then Poland. It was all this NATO thing. We got along great. There was only like 30 Americans in that camp. So we were,
Any problem with the language barrier? Because you were part of, I know you were NATO, but you weren't necessarily with a English-speaking unit, right?
Well, those guys spoke English, though. Yeah.
Enough?
I think they all learned it in school.
Oh, that's right. They're better educated than we are. I forgot.
Well, even the Germans, most of them learned English, but the Danish guys all knew English, and sometimes there was a little bit like if you said a word that they weren't used to or something. But most of the time it was cool. One guy, the guy in the chow line, I forget his name. He was pretty cool. I went up in the chow line like one of the first days I was there. He's like, "Sir." I was like, "Yeah, what do you need?" He's like, how many states in the United States?" And I said, 52. He's like, "See?" And he turned to his buddy. He's like, "See, I told you there was 52. And his buddy looked at me like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, you probably forgot Puerto Rico and Guam." I mean, I had a straight face and everything, and he believed me. He's like, "But there was 50. No, you forgot Puerto Rico and Guam." He's like, "All right." So he's like, he lost the bet, whatever the bet was.
Really?
And then Sergeant Thomas and a couple of the Americans that were there sat down to eat. And here comes this guy from the chow line. And he comes straight up to Sergeant Thomas. And he's like, "Sergeant, I just talked to this captain, and he said there's 52 states. You were wrong." He was like, "Captain? There ain't no captain in here." "Yeah, the American captain." Where's his captain?" He looked at me. He's like, "He's right there." Sergeant Thomas looked at me and he's like, "That ain't no captain. That's Specialist Garrett. He's just messing with you. He's just messing with you." And then I just started cracking up. It was hilarious.
That's good. You're brokering international trust right at the unit level. That's good. How long did you stay in Germany?
I left in 97, September 97, so 2 years. Wow. Okay. But if you want to know how long I was in Germany, it was about 12 non-consecutive.
Right. But your official assignment to Germany, you left about 97. Okay.
Yep.
Did you go another assignment after that, or did you get out?
No, I went to Maryland. Yeah, so we got orders, and I was supposed to go to Fort Huachuca.
Oh yeah.
And I knew a guy who was from Southern California, and that would be closer for him to see like his family, and he had a daughter and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to go to Arizona. It's freaking hot.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's like, I got orders to go to this place in Maryland. He's like, I don't know anybody in Maryland he's like, I don't know a soul on the East Coast. I was like, what, do you want to switch? He was like, well, yeah, let's see if we can switch. So
no kidding. You swapped with them, huh? Nice.
It took us probably over a month to get that deal worked out. And we finally had to go to our first sergeant and be like, because you got to call the personnel and nobody wants to help you.
Of course not.
We went to the first sergeant, both of us together, and we were like, first sergeant, can you make this happen? This would be really cool for both of us.
Yeah.
And he's like, let me see what I can do. He's like, I know a guy at Huachuca. And so he calls some guy at Huachuca, and they fixed it up.
Nice.
I don't know how, but.
All right. Wait, are you a E5 by this point?
Nope. I'm a slacker by this point.
Why? Why do you say that?
Well, because all the promotion boards were during periods where I was either deployed or TDY.
Yeah.
And
that's a good first sergeant taking care of you.
Well, originally, Sergeant Thomas was like, hey, we'll get you to the board next month.
Yeah.
And then, because when we came back in August from Bosnia, or by then Croatia, we went back to Croatia. We came back and we got stuck on shift in Heidelberg, and Sergeant Thomas was like, yeah, we got a board coming up next month. We'll get you to that. Well, then I think it was the first sergeant comes and asked us if we wanted to go TDY to Italy. And we're like, hell yeah.
Oh, shit.
That's a dumb question. And they were like, well, you leave in 2 weeks. And we're like, okay, so now we got to scramble. And it's August.
Yeah.
So we're scrambling to get our stuff back in storage. I just got my stuff out of storage because we just got back in August, like August 1st.
Oh, yeah. Right. How long was this TDY to Italy?
It was supposed to be 3 months. It ended up being 5+
Damn.
months. Yeah, we get there. We meet up with the guy. He drives us out to this hotel. We're like, we're staying in a hotel? He's like, yeah. This hotel is like on the beach. It's like, the beach is across the street, right? But there's no other buildings across the street.
Okay.
So I get this room, this hotel room. I think it was a mistake because it's like a suite. This room I have is a suite. It's got a kitchen dining room area, same room. It's got it's got a little living room with a couple chairs, and it's got a separate bathroom and a separate bedroom. I'm like,
jeez.
I'm like, how many other people are in here? And they're like, it's just you, man. And I'm like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah. They screwed something up, but okay.
Something got screwed up. So I go out. It's got a balcony. It's on like the 4th floor or something. Maybe 4th floor.
Yeah.
It's got this balcony that wraps around. So it's a corner room.
Wow.
The balcony basically wraps around the building. So it's got a door from the bedroom and a door from the kitchen. This balcony. And I can look out on the beach. I look out on the ocean.
My God.
Straight out from the kitchen. Yeah, it was awesome. And I'm
what was your duty on the TDY?
Same thing. We had a van. The van that was there was already set up, but it was connected to a switch that was set up next to it. So
Did you have to stay out in the field with it, or were you running shifts coming back to the hotel?
Well, this comm shop was set up in the parking lot of one of the NATO facility buildings in Naples. Like in Naples.
So you got to sleep. You got to sleep in the hotel room.
Yeah, most days. Now we ended up doing a shift that was probably not strictly legal. We did 24 on and 48 off. So we're sitting there 24 hours. So we're 24 hours in on duty in this van in this parking lot. And then just take 2 days off after that.
So how long did you stay? You said it was like 5 months down in Italy, right?
Yeah, from the end of August to January. But about the first or second week in January.
You finally got those orders switched from going to Fort Huachuca to, what was it? You were going to Maryland. Where were you going at to Maryland?
Fort Richie.
So you get to Fort Richie when? What year was that?
97. September 97.
And what were your duties there?
So same thing. Well, so there at Fort Richie.
Oh, it was the same? You were doing the same job? They had the vans and stuff?
They had 2 vans, different vans. These were 28 modem vans that were spread spectrum modem vans but they were mobile vans, but they were bolted down to the concrete up at our site. And then at that site also had a Millstar terminal, Millstar 1 inside skiff steel room thing.
Okay.
So we had 3 things there, and then a couple minor things on the side that no one knew about.
Were you a TS clearance?
Yeah.
Were you TS SCI or just TS?
Just TS. Just for conflict purposes. Just because we had a conflict in there.
Right. How was Richie? How was that duty assignment?
It was cool. I liked Fort Richie. It was small.
Yeah.
A small post. It was in the middle of nowhere. It was in the woods, basically.
Oh, it was? Oh, okay.
Cascade, Maryland, up close to the Pennsylvania border. And we had a SATCOM shot on top of a mountain. Like Fort Richie was kind of underneath that mountain, not underneath, below that mountain.
Yeah.
And, of course, I say mountain. It's the Appalachian Mountains. It's not like.
Well, no, sure.
But it was cool. It was quiet mostly, and it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Appalachian Trail runs right by there. Right by there. See a bunch of hikers all the time.
Okay. I was just going to ask about that. Yeah. How long did you stay at Richie for? Was Richie your last assignment?
Yeah, well, that unit was my last assignment. So they closed Fort Richie. That was part of BRAC. So when I got there, they were beginning the process of closing the post. We had all these old buildings that they weren't going to upgrade because they knew they were closing the place. Yeah. So the barracks were kind of old and run down. But I didn't mind. I had finagled my way into a single room again, which I had done my entire military career because I didn't really like anyone.
Well, and you're not shy to put that vibe out, so they know that you don't like them. So,
most of the time, I was the oldest guy in the group, and I'm, the oldest guy in the barracks because
that's right. Yeah, that's right. You're like 10 years older than all the other ones, huh?
Right. Most of them in their 20s or even earlier, and they just like to go out and party, make a lot of noise, and hang out. And I'm just like, I've been there, done that. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'll just sit here and watch some TV, and I'll be good.
Did you make E5 at Fort Richie?
Yeah, well, sort of. Yeah, Fort Detrick. So
sort of.
When they closed Richie, we all moved to Fort Detrick in Maryland.
Okay. Yeah,
it was like 30 miles south of where we worked. So we still worked where we worked, but we lived at Fort Detrick.
Did they send you to PLDC or anything like that? Or
yeah, so I did go to PLDC from. So at Fort Detrick. Once again, at site, we're like, oh, we're losing all these people. No one's coming. We're not getting any new people. So they were like, we don't have any more NCOs. So I'm E4 Specialist Garrett and E4 Specialist Curry. They're like, hey, you guys want to get promoted? We're like, what are you talking about? Well, we're going to make you corporals.
Corporals, like, really? Yeah.
So me, him, and one other guy, and then they pinned us on with corporal, And we're like, this is dumb. Because
for those who don't know, I mean, in the Army, because I know I do a lot of Air Force interviews, but an E4 can be either a specialist or a corporal. Same pay. It's just a corporal, you get 2 stripes. And now you have authority.
You're an NCO, right?
You're an NCO, which means that your specialist pay being held accountable for NCO duties.
Exactly.
But no more pay. Yeah.
That's correct.
It's a cheap trick. That's a cheap trick. Yeah.
No more pay, no more respect.
No. So they weren't really going to hook you up. They just gave you corporal stripes and said,
because
they were responsible for all this other stuff.
Because they had their own rules, and the rule was that you had to have an NCO in charge of a team. And since they fired all the NCOs, they didn't have any more. So we had a couple of good NCOs that were just a little bit chubby for the PT, and they kicked them out for being fat.
Really?
And then the third, and they were good. They would look after you and stuff, but
yeah,
just didn't make weight. And then the third guy that got kicked out, he was running some kind of porn operation on the side. So they found out. So back in the late 90s, that's when the internet started blowing up, and
sure,
of course, people found out you could make money with porn on the internet. So he would set up these video porn things with him and his girlfriend, and sometime I heard it was multiple people, like threesome foursome events that he would broadcast out over the internet. And
the guy was an innovator. Look at that.
He was making money, right? So
yeah,
but they found out about it and they kicked him out.
Oh.
So now we're down to like 1 NCO for 4 teams. so they drummed up 3 corporals to take over.
Wow.
So I had my own team. I'm charging 9 guys.
And they all respected you, I'm sure.
That's correct. They all respected me. But in fairness, we had the chief of our site was a chief warrant officer 3 or 4. I think he'd made 4 by the time I left, but he knew he was close to retirement. He knew what he knew, that's for sure. And he would tell you.
Yeah.
He wasn't like the arrogant guy who would just ignore everything you're saying.
Good for you. Yeah, lucky you.
He had the ability to get people to do stuff, sure, but like he got me to run 8 miles with him one time, and I don't even know how that happened. I literally got conned into running just a little PT. Come on, Sergeant Garrett, just a little PT. He goes, I really need to do some PT, but I don't want to run out there alone by myself. I was like, all right. So we got out there, and this other guy, E3, comes up and he's like, well, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
And he had no idea what was coming. And so we run down the driveway from our site down to the Appalachian Trail, which is about 1.5 miles to the trail.
Okay.
And we just keep going. We keep going, and I'm following along. I'm like, how far are we going, Chief? Oh, we're just going down here to the road. We get to the road, we'll turn back. Okay. Yeah. We got to the road, and I'm like, Chief, how far do you think that was? He's like, I think it's about 3.5 to 4 miles. I was like, what? Wait, is there a quicker way back? He's like, no. The way we came is the quickest way back. All right. So then we ran back, and it's like 4 miles.
The way we came is the quickest way back. That's classic.
Yeah.
Because you're stuck at that point. What are you going to do? You're not going to walk, right?
That was the furthest I ran. So when we were in Italy, we had a gung-ho E7 that loved to run. He would run us all the time. And the longest we ran was 7 miles. And that was like at your own pace. Of course, this was at your own pace too, but like,
yeah,
I didn't even, before that time, I had run, 2-3 miles. That was it.
Yeah.
I made it. And that E3 sure didn't. He had no clue.
Oh, he didn't?
No, he didn't make it at all. He started walking on the way back.
Shit.
Chief Simmons was cool.
Okay, so it's getting near your time. What are they telling you? You're already an E5, right? You made E5. Where'd you get promoted?
I got promoted, I want to say 98 or 99. 98 or 99. It was right at the beginning of 99, though, because it went to PLDC in January, of course. For some reason, they send me to cold places in January.
Where'd you go?
Fort Knox. Fort Knox. Kentucky. And it was cold that winter. It was like we went out to our field exercise, and it was minus 20. And they said, okay, we're not going to stay out here all night. So they basically, it was below zero for 3 or 4 days for the lows, So they basically just bust us out early in the morning and bust us back late at night. So we didn't camp out.
When did you get promoted?
Right after that. So it was February, I guess, 99. Yeah. So I was a slacker for quite a few years. And then,
well, also circumstance, right?
Circumstance.
They kept shipping you out. Yeah.
Right. And the first sergeant in Maryland came to me and he was like, we're going to send you to PLDC. We're going to promote you, he said. Or no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He said, you're going to the board. And I'm like, I am? When? And they were like, Tuesday.
Oh, shit.
They told me this on a Thursday. So I had to get all my uniform together, polished up, pressed. Fortunately, I found a 24-hour dry cleaner and got all my buttons on, my medals and stuff on.
Yeah.
And I went in there with minimal preparation and minimal,
of course,
care, really. Minimal concern. Because I was like, well, they did this to me, so, whatever.
So you're like Shawshank when he's trying to get paroled and he's like, you know what? I don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, yeah. So they're asking me all these questions and I don't know. I knew some of the answers and I knew some of the answers that they didn't think I would know, but some of the easy ones I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'll get back to you.
Oh, shit.
That kind of thing. Sergeant,
right.
I do not know the answer, but I will get back to you.
Yeah, that's a classic.
I got out of the board and then they discussed it and they called me back in. And the one guy, some E7 or whatever, was like, that's probably one of the worst boards I've ever seen.
Did he told you that?
Yeah. He's like, that's one of the lowest scores I've ever given out. And I'm like, okay. And at this point in my Army career, I'm like, I don't care. I'm getting out anyway, and I'm going to get paid more than you, probably.
Yeah.
So the first sergeant was like, and my first sergeant impersonation is the same for every first sergeant. So he's like, sorry, Garrett. You weren't really prepared for this, were you? And I'm like, first sergeant, I wasn't. You guys scheduled this without telling me, basically. And they're like, yeah, well, it couldn't be helped. We decided to go ahead and award you however many points, 180 points or whatever, which is well below the norm. He's like, that, even with that low score, that puts you well over the points you need to get promoted. I'm like,
really?
Okay. Yeah, because I had all these deployments and I had
that's right. Yeah.
I had Joint Service Achievement Medal, I had an ARCOM, I had all this stuff.
Yeah, and all the overseas stuff. So yeah, that's right. You got all those crazy points. Yeah.
Yeah. I could have gotten 3 points probably and had enough, right? But whatever.
Could you shoot?
Yeah. I had expert.
Okay. All right.
I had expert almost every time. I had the one time I didn't was the time that it was really, really early in the morning, and I was like one of the first people on the line.
Yeah.
And I have glasses, and those stupid BCGs.
Oh, yeah.
The stupid BCGs are so thick that the sweat coming off my forehead ran down through the middle of each lens of my stupid glasses. And I'm like, I can't see shit. And I'm just firing.
I had to wear those too. And I would hope that I would sweat right up in the upper left corner of the lens, so I could just barely see through it to try to hit. But the 300, forget it. I couldn't hit the 300. So
Yeah, you can't. Once your glasses get messed up, you can't see that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can target. I'm just out there guessing. I think that's it.
So they gave you enough. Did he know? He knew you were going to get promoted anyway, right?
Oh, yeah.
With that
First
low
sergeant was
scores.
so this first sergeant I knew. So, I mean, like, he knew that I was, like, not a slacker. He knew my PT scores. He knew all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he sent me to PLDC, and he goes, "Don't let me down." PLDC, I got the commandant's list. That's what it was.
Oh.
So I came back. They promoted me, and I had my own team that time, which was the same team that I had just left that I just had. So, yeah.
But now you had the rank finally, right?
Yeah, whatever.
The real rank,
yeah, the real rank. And then they kept asking me if I was going to re-enlist, and I was like, no, don't think so, no.
Yeah, you mentioned that even before the board, that you had already made your mind up, right?
Yeah.
Well, what led to that?
I think just my age, knowing that there's not a lot of new stuff that I want to do. I mean, they sent me to Europe, they sent me all around freaking Europe, and
that's true.
Got the free travel. I got to hang out.
You got the experience. You got the clearance, right?
Yeah, clearance.
You got the job, practical application. Yeah,
technical experience, and then I got some leadership experience.
So going all the way back to the agreement with your friend, you kind of accomplished what you wanted.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're Maryland, so ton of real job opportunities there, right? Did you start looking at that?
Yeah. I got this guy hooked me up with a headhunter, and this guy sent me a bunch of job opportunities, and I applied to some and got some offers, and then finally offer came in from this place in New Jersey, and I accepted that. It was basically doing the same thing I was doing, which is working on high-powered transmitters.
Okay. Well, there you go. Mission accomplished, right?
Yeah.
And so that was easy enough to just turn down the re-enlistment and let the time run out. When did you get out? When did you step out of the military?
2000. It was September 2000. Or no, October 2000, sorry.
Looking back, any regrets or anything? Anything you'd do different?
I would maybe do some stuff different. Like, I would probably, while I was in Europe, I'd probably try to see more stuff.
Well, yeah, but they didn't give you any time to go see anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would try to get out of work so I could go see more stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Somehow I would try to make something up. Or,
that's interesting because I thought back on some of my military career too. And I know there were guys who were just aggressively taking advantage of doing things, right? From wherever we were stationed at, And then I look back and I'm like, nobody gave you any rewards for like being loyal. You should have just went and done it.
Yeah.
Like they did. And I'm like, that's what I should have done. I knew a ton of guys who took like Space A flights all over the place. And I was like, that's too risky. I'm not going to do that. But they did it, and they had a great time. And I'm like, God, I should have done that too. I should have made more opportunities instead of waiting for them to come to me. So I'm with you there. I agree.
Yeah.
Is there anything we didn't cover? I think we got it all. Huh? I mean, I know you can tell stories all day long, and I love that. But I feel like I know your career now. That's pretty cool.
I've never gone through like the whole timeline at one time.
Oh, really?
I don't think. Not that I remember.
Former Army Sergeant Lester Garrett, thanks for telling me your story. Thanks for sharing your life with me in the service. And it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you. And we'll see you around probably.
Thanks, Lester. I appreciate it, man.
All right. Have a good one.
Take care.
On behalf of Sergeant Garrett, I'd like to thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please leave a like or a comment and share the podcast with someone else. And as always, make sure to download the next episode for more service origin stories. So until next time, attach who is mess.